What's up guys? So couple of days ago I made a video about a proper defensive setup for renegades against purple renegades like Lanchin and Oscar, and I see majority of the players in the game are using these renegades wrong, and they are using the same renegades that they are using for attacking in terms of defending as well, and that's not how it's going to work. So if you have missed that video out, make sure you watch that, especially if you are using Lanchin and Oscar. But that's not the goal of this video. The goal of this video is to talk about golden renegades, because we have already covered the purple renegade thing. So now it's time for the big boys. Now it's time to cover the golden renegade defensive setup. I will say this now, that majority of the player in the game are using renegades wrong in terms of defending. Majority of them are using same golden renegade setup what they attack in terms of defending as well. They're using same renegades inside their wall, and that's not how it's going to work. That's not how they are made to work, and Mafia City have made it clear how you can use these renegades against each other. Your stats are against stats, but your renegades are against renegades. We need to make a perfect counter for the enemy attacking renegade setup, and we can do this. So majorly in the game there are three golden attacking renegade setup being used. So the first one is going to be Jair, Luis and Gabi. That's the first and most popular renegade setup. The next one is going to be the Megalodon, Keith and Stark. This is the second golden renegade setup, and the last one is going to be your Donorosa, Drowner and Celeste. So this is the third renegade setup that a lot of big players are using. So majority of the time these three attacking renegade setup are being used against you. So now we need to find counter for all three of these setups. We are going to do this, but first let's start with the most popular renegade setup, that is going to be Jair, Luis and Gabi. So let's take a look at Jair, guys. So Jair is based on technique attribute, and that's the same case for Luis and Gabi as well. So these three renegades are based on technique attribute, but that's the half story. Now let's talk about their persona, because this is the one thing that they have made clear. Personas, guys, if you will take a look at them, are very important. You need to have right persona renegades against attacking enemy renegades in order to decrease their kills. Setup is based on agility persona. So agility persona is normally going to have an advantage over intellect persona. This is our enemy renegade setup. They are going to attack you with Jair, Luis and Gabi based on agility persona. So what will be the right renegade setup against this? So let's take a look at agility persona one more time. So agility persona is going to have an advantage over intellect persona, but patience persona is going to have an advantage over agility persona. So inside our wall, if enemy is going to attack us with an agility renegade setup like Jair, Luis and Gabi, we need to have a renegade setup based on patience persona. Now let's find renegades based on patience persona against an agility persona that is based on Jair, Luis and Gabi. We are going to use Donaros in first slot, Drowner in second slot and Celeste in third slot. All three of these renegades are based on patience persona, and all three of them are based on strength attribute. So this will be a proper renegade setup against a renegade setup like Jair, Luis and Gabi that is based on agility persona. If you don't have all three of these renegades, then you can just have your one renegade that is based on patience persona in your slot 1, and other two can be any other categories of renegades, can be on agility. Whatever you have, you can put them, and make sure that all of their attributes are on protection mode, because protection is going to counter technique. So that will be a perfect, or that will be a very strong defensive renegade setup against attacking renegade setup like Jair, Luis and Gabi. So that's the first renegade setup. Now let's talk about the second one, the strongest renegade setup yet, and that is going to be based on Megalodon. Megalodon is going to be on first slot, Stark is going to be on second slot, and Keith is going to be on third slot. It doesn't matter if Keith can be in second slot, Stark can be in third slot. The matter is that Megalodon is going to be in first slot. So all three of these renegades are based on strength attribute, and they are going to utilize bravery persona. So bravery is their persona, all three of them. So bravery have an advantage over patience. So the renegade setup that I just told you before this, Drowner, Donarosa and Celeste, is not going to work very well against attacking renegade setup like Megalodon, Stark, and Keith. So now we need to change our defensive renegade setup. So you know that enemy is going to attack you with Megalodon, Stark, and Keith. So now you need to have renegade that are based on intellect persona, because that's the persona that will have advantage over bravery persona. So let's find some renegade that is going to have intellect persona. So for this, I will choose Commander Corex on first renegade slot, because if you will look at Commander Corex, you will see that Commander Corex is based on technique attribute, as well as he have some defensive skill that is going to decrease the enemy renegade damage. So I want you to don't change the attributes of Commander Corex. He should be on technique attribute. So Commander Corex is going to be in first slot, and the second two slot you can choose Ramona and Devil Ray. That will be a perfect defensive renegade setup against Megalodon, Keith, and Star. All three of these renegades are based on intellect persona, so make sure your Commander Corex is on technique attribute. And as we know that Megalodon is on strength attribute, so to counter strength we need to have physique attribute. So make sure other two renegades like Ramona and Devil Ray can be on physique attribute. If not, I don't think it's going to change much. If you can, make sure that your Devil Ray and Ramona is on physique attribute. That will help you to decrease the damage by a lot, and the enemy will have a lot less renegade kill. Granted, this thing guys is that you will not be able to stop these renegades to 100%, but you will be very effective against these renegades. They are going to get a lot less skill that they are going to get just with a random defensive renegade formation. You're using whatever renegades inside your wall, it's not going to work. Make sure you have right renegade inside your wall if you know that enemy is going to attack you with a strength renegade like Megalodon that is based on bravery attribute. So that will be our defensive renegade setup against Megalodon, Stark, and Keith. You can also do this when you're fighting for governor. Make sure you have all those three renegades inside your wall when you know that a raid with Megalodon, Stark, and Keith is coming. So if you put right renegades in your defensive formation in the center, you can have advantage over the enemy. You will decrease their kills by a lot. Let's talk about the final renegade setup, that is going to be Donarosa, Drowner, and Celeste. So that will be the third attacking renegade setup that you need to have a defensive renegade setup in against. These three renegades are based on patience persona. So patience persona is normally going to have an advantage on agility persona. So we need to find the renegades that are going to use bravery persona. So simple guys, just use Megalodon, Stark, and Keith as your defensive renegade setup. These three renegades are going to decrease the renegade skill by Dolorosa, Drowner, and Celeste, because they are based on bravery persona. They will have advantage over patience persona. So that's a proper way to use renegades against renegades, because we need to understand one thing is that stats versus stats, renegades versus renegades. So that's how it's going to work. And if you have the right renegade setup, the enemy is going to get a lot less skill. And I know a lot of players know about this information, but they doesn't want this to get out to the majority of the players in the game, because the moment it's going to get out, the more players are going to do this, and then they are going to get less skills. So I think to talk about this, because I see that nobody talk about how to use renegades in terms of defensive, because we see that they are not getting these 10 million kills, 20 million kills when defending the mansion. So that's something wrong going on here. It's not be the case guys. So turns out that renegades have advantage in terms of attacking, so you need to have different defensive renegade setup against different attacking renegade setup to decrease their kills. So that's how it's going to go. So like the video, share this video with your friends, subscribe the channel guys, turn on notification. More information videos are going to come in future. And that's it for me. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care, stay safe, peace.